Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I wanted to talk about the Star Citizen Alpha 3.24.2 Evocati initial test. This video does effectively contain some spoilers, so this is your spoiler warning, because we are going to be talking a little bit about some bits that were data mined, but not in huge detail, because the problem with the data mine stuff is that it's often the case that these bits are just not supposed to have been included in a build, or are mentioning or referencing something which is taken hugely out of context. But I believe people are mature enough to be able to go, oh yeah, it's cool that this thing's in there. And we're only going to be discussing a couple of highlights from things that I found interesting that make sense with other stuff that CIG have said. But yeah, this patch does have an NDA, but CIG have softened the way that they deal with NDAs for this. So you are allowed to talk about the Evocati patch notes, and you're allowed to talk about your experiences in that Evocati patch, which is absolutely fantastic. However, there's not much in that way of patch notes for this patch, because basically CIG said, go in and find things yourself. It was more a stability test, which initial Evocati patches typically are. They're not really focused on features, and CIG did also say, look, this patch doesn't contain all the intended features, and they're going to be adding them iteratively as they sort of go. And some features might appear in a partial state, but at the moment, really just focusing on a stability test. So with that in mind, the patch was 44 gigs if you're upgrading from 3.24.1. So there's quite a lot of stuff in there, although it might just be that they haven't particularly optimized the files there. So it looks like it might be a CitizenCon patch as well. That's not definite, but some of the CitizenCon digital items are in there, like the P8 ARC, the ARC, the civilian version of that P8AR that's in Squadron 42 as one of the hero weapons. So it's quite possible that 3.24.2 is supposed to be released alongside CitizenCon, but it's also quite possible they're just testing these items to make sure that they work before having like a mini patch for CitizenCon, because realistically this patch is probably going to be released at either CitizenCon or the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, or maybe split into two patches and then released at either. Some things that we did see in that patch was there were new MFDs. I'm not sure to what scale these MFDs were actually in game. May well have been for most of the ships. I only saw them really on a couple of ships, but I mean, the playtest wasn't up for very long. We do know that Cloud Imperium are planning to basically have updated MFDs for all the different ships in game for this patch. Even the manufacturers that they haven't specifically supported yet will be getting a generic overhaul. So manufacturer specific for some, and then the others get the generic one until they've got the manufacturer specific ones for those other ships. There's some new character customization bits, so I think I saw hairs here, but I believe there's also going to be the piercing tattoos and that sort of stuff. There's some new menu music, same as the StarEngine demo that they had, and so they're sort of making that all cool and epic. And there's new UI for like things like Arena Commander. There's probably a few other little bits and bobs around. The Zeus Mark IIs aren't in. I don't think the cave archetypes were in, but they might be, and I just didn't see them. So with the patch notes for that as well, basically they said they were going to be running on a single server per shard with 100 players on that, on each shard, and they were expecting the build to be a bit unstable, as it was the initial release to Evocati for the new 3.24.2 branch. They wanted people to set your spawn to Area 18, otherwise you'll have a bad time getting out of the city, they said. And there was some other known issues here. ASOP terminal screens will be stuck on getting vehicle until the terminal times out. Some elevators have grayed out panels and don't respond when called, and Arena Commander is currently crashing frequently while joining. So expect more tests in the coming days for those Evocati patches, and then moving on to PTU. CIG going to fix some bits, then put it back in Evocati, fix some more bits, then put it onto PTU is typically the way that will proceed. There was some cool little bits for data mining and other rumors and that sort of stuff. So we're going to be discussing what it effectively is to be taken with a big pinch of salt, a big grain of salt that other people have either said they've seen in the patch or bits that have been data mined. And yeah, I'm not going to go into the nitty gritty of all of it, and I'm not going to over analyze all this data mining stuff. I'm just going to talk about some of the highlights that I thought were cool. Some of the bits, they might be like temporary names for things. They're subject to change. They might not be for this patch even. They might never turn up. But some bits we did expect. And yeah, it could be for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, for CitizenCon, or just being tested ahead of 4.0. So there was mention of the Super Hornet Mark II. We expected them to actually potentially be getting these in for Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, the new Mark IIs. CIG had actually been talking about it a little while ago, and they're appearing on the roadmap tracker. New equipable tractor beams have been mentioned by people, and CIG were talking about the Titan suit sort of tractor beams, and also different types of equipable tractor beam that would allow you to do your tractor beaming in different ways. So you can go, I like this kind of tractor beam style, or this one. People were asking where the hover trolley was, and people have been mentioning that they have found references to it in this patch. Really want the hover trolleys. I think that they give you even more ways of dealing with your cargo, which is super important when you've got things like the Titan suits and that sort of stuff. I just want loads of ways of being able to handle my cargo, as long as they all make sense, right? As long as none of them are just like, well, this is just a terrible way of dealing with the cargo. If hover trolleys are terrible, obviously that will make me sad. Also, people were talking about the potential of Titan suits having melee or combat variants. There are apparently some references to melee and that sort of stuff for these suits. We'll have to wait and see to see if that actually turns into anything, or it was something that was just being tested. There's some new clothing, apparently, some new flight suits, some new commodities, things like that. Repair missions that they were talking about. And obviously, we know that we've got repair missions for 4.0. Stuff about different NPC guilds and other places you can get reputation, and night vision updates were being talked about, potentially a new ship and item dispensers, which might be 3D printers and crafting, but we don't know at all. That's something that might just be for something very different. They also talked about a couple of other ships, the Cydnus and Vandal Stinger, which are in Squadron 42, the Legionnaire, Zeus. They were both sort of mentioned. It's sort of like we might be seeing these ships at the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, just maybe not in-game, like with the Legionnaire, but maybe just the exterior of it, right? They might sort of turn up the sort of Squadron 42 stuff. Expect it for Squadron 42! And it might be being shown off during sort of CitizenCon, stuff like that. But there's often just random files and mentions of files left in these patches because they're effectively grabbed from the dev stream and they exclude a load of stuff, but they don't necessarily exclude all of it. Interested to know what people think of some of those bits. I'm very excited for 3.24.2. I do want to see those new MFDs on all the ships. I do think that's pretty cool. And any of the cool new bits and bobs in that patch that we can sort of discover. Awesome. I mean, we're going to be looking at this a lot more during the Evocati phase, and we only got a little tiny peek there. But yeah, it's certainly very exciting. Some other stuff. The RSI launcher is now been released to 2.0.5. So update that if you haven't already. It's got an offline mode now. You can manually set your download speed limit. Load of fixes for that launcher and downloader. A couple of other things. There was a thread asking what happened to the Horizon Repel missions and the sort of various distribution center missions that CIG had promised us, with NPCs sort of turning up and attacking and that sort of stuff, loads of those kind of missions. CIG did respond, we're waiting on a fix for the spawn closets in this area. The fix is not as important as other fixes in our engineering backlog. We are pushing to fix it, however, as we do want them to turn back on. It's just a matter of priority. So those missions will be coming back in the not too distant future, I believe, and loads more similar missions should also be coming. I'm hoping with 4.0, so we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. Someone mentioned that the RSI links should be available at New Deal or somewhere, and it doesn't show up on the sales terminal. And CIG did respond and say, flag this up, and we're on it. It'll be interesting to see with 3.24.2 and with 4.0 what other ships and vehicles become buyable in-game. Will that Titan suit, that Atlas, be available to purchase with 4.0 in-game? Because that would be very good. That's what I want. Anyway, boom, that's it for your Star Citizen updates today. if you are able to get into that Evocati build of 3.24.2 when it next runs, it's probably worth doing just to see if there's anything cool that you can find and discover and to help with the testing on that. We don't know how long this patch is going to be in Evocati and then PTU, and we don't know if this is going to be released at CitizenCon or the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo or somewhere in between. But whatever your thoughts or questions are, please chuck them in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Were you participating in that patch already, 3.24.2, and what was it like for you? What are you hoping to see at CitizenCon? Do you have any questions for devs that you'd like me to ask if I meet the appropriate dev at CitizenCon? Chuck it in the comments below, or go on to my discord.gg/BoredGamer and chuck it in the thread there. There's a section for CitizenCon stuff, and if you're attending that event and you want to meet up, say in there as well. We'll organise something. Also, listen to this guy. He's going to tell you to get NordVPN, and you probably should. Definitely click the links below. Woo! What's in the box? That is what Pandora asked. She was told not to open that box, but she did. The internet is like Pandora's box, full of the chaos of the world. And Pandora basically opened an email attachment asking to help a millionaire prince move money around. Bam! It was Medusa all along. You've turned to stone. Foolish! You should know your Greek mythology. What's not foolish is nordvpn.com/BoredGamer. NordVPN is potentially one of the greatest Greek mythological heroes. It helps protect you from the terrors of the internet, helping you be more secure and private, while also giving you great accessibility. You can use my links down below to get NordVPN cheap. September, we've got a giveaway. Every month we have a ship giveaway, and this month is no different. We're giving away 5 ships this month. Actually, that is a bit different. That's 4 more than normal. We're going to give each of them to a different winner. We've got a Nomad, an X1, a Sulen, a Mustang Alpha, and a 100i. They all come with access to the game and lifetime insurance. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning any of those is comment on any of my videos made during the month on YouTube. I want to say a massive thank you to all our patrons and channel members. Your support allows us to make daily content. You are the best, and you should consider joining them by clicking the join button under my videos. It goes a long way in helping us, as does commenting, sharing videos, liking, all of that jazz. You do not have to chuck money at us, but if you want to, I'm not going to stop you. Thanks for watching, and have a great September.